All right, good evening, everybody. This is Anthony from Traders Ultimate Edge. Let's look at the market today. We had pretty much just a sideways choppy day here. This morning we had housing permits come out. Housing permits looked pretty good, which of course gave a nice pop to anything involved with building houses or, of course, furnishing those houses. So, usual suspects, HD and Lowe's, and even Bath and Body Works got a bit of a pop. But that being a meme stock, I can never be sure why that's popping or not. So we can look through here. You can see it just bounced along this trend line, making a series of higher lows during the day. This trend line, I think, is going to be important given how much it bounced along it. You can get the same trend line on your charts. See it right here. It's this yellow line. I drew it a little bit differently in a little bit different color so that y'all can see it. Going back here to the low, it was that double bottom low on November 15th, and that's where the trend line started. And then it just kind of continues up. Sorry, my screen should be sharing for you guys. There it is. That was weird. So here's the trend line I'm talking about. I had to share my screen there for everybody on Zoom. And you can see here's the start of this yellow trend line. It started here on November 15th at the low, hit it a little bit here. The Globex lows overnight the next day, hit the low again, and then it just bounced along it today. It's not a perfect trend line, but it has been in play now for 3 sessions. So I think it's going to keep being in play. Let's zoom out a little bit. We'll take a more macro look here on the 1 hour. And let me get rid of a couple of things on the chart. You can see a little bit easier. So here's the ES overall. We have a couple competing looks. Number one, it may have a double top in play. That might be a double top. It's hard to tell. Number two, we could also have a head and shoulders in play, an inverted head and shoulders. Shoulder, head, shoulder. And then with a failed move off of that right there. So there's a lot of technical patterns here in play. You could also almost call this maybe an ascending triangle. There's a lot going on right here, and it's really hard to give you any sort of technical pattern here on the ES. My gut feeling is, though, that we do continue up on the back of that really good sales report, a bullish look to housing permits, and then of course oil today. And now this is interesting for the whole market. We can look at oil for just a second. Here's oil today. You see it finally fell below. It actually oddly gapped below this trend line. That's the big trend line back from near coronavirus. So that thing's been around for a while, and it fell all the way down to 77 bucks. This was after a very bullish EIA report. They expected a build of 1 point some million and actually had a draw of a couple million. So it was a really bullish report. And even gasoline looked great, but the fall was on the back of comments from Biden at a press conference talking about how he wants OPEC and other countries to produce more, et cetera, et cetera. And the concerns are that he's going to continue releasing oil from the strategic oil reserve. I can talk about that for a while, but I think everybody kind of understands why he's doing that. Political motivations being what they are. So nonetheless, that's the reason for the fall here in oil and the really heavy volume day here that we got. This volume's definitely above normal. So that's the reason for the move here in oil. Now, oil overall, being so high is, of course, inflationary. So a pullback in oil is a bit anti-inflationary, I guess you could say, or it won't push inflation so hard. So it does interplay a bit with the market, but overall, I think this pullback here in oil, despite breaking the trend line, let me get rid of the pivots, despite breaking that trend line, I think it's buyable is my personal thought on that. And I actually bought the dip myself with calls and UCO. So I think this is buyable. It's a really odd pullback. It's really odd for oil to gap like this. I mean, look through the chart. You don't see very many gaps in oil coming out of that hour break. So I think this will be an area of resistance as it comes back up right around $80. But nonetheless, I do think it will. So that's my thoughts there on oil. Other than that, open trades here for all of us today. We did, oops, no, Zoom, go away. We did re-enter, or excuse me, yeah, we re-entered an SPX trade today. We got a 7DT SPX. And so that's open, and that looks good. And that's the only one we have open. We closed the Google this morning, or if you had gotten filled yesterday, then that's fantastic. And then nothing else is open. We did stop out of FB with a small loss on that one, breaking the win streak at only 30 days of straight wins, which really upsetted me to break that streak. However, it happens. So there we go. That's where we're at. All right. Thank you for listening. And as always, hope you all have a great evening.